In this video, we begin looking at the Indian national movement. The Indian national movement is amongst the greatest freedom movements in the history of mankind, with over a sixth of the human population indulged in it. Along with the American, British, Russian, French, and Chinese revolutions, the Indian national movement is of great relevance to those wishing to understand the bedrock of modern political and social structure of nations across the world. A number of people adopted non-violence as their method of struggle, mimicking the Gandhian strategy. For example, Lech Walesa of Poland incorporated elements of Gandhian strategy in the solidarity movement of Poland. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did the same thing with the civil rights movement to abolish slavery that existed as late as mid 1960s in the America. The Indian national movement is also the only movement where the broadly Gramscian theoretical perspective of war of position was successfully implemented, where state power was not seized in a single moment of revolution but through prolonged popular struggle on a moral, political, and ideological level, where reserves of counter hegemony were built up over the years through progressive stages, where stages of struggle alternated with passive phases. This strategy later came to be known as struggle, truce, struggle. The Indian National Congress became synonymous with the Indian national movement. However, the Congress was an organization that was so diverse politically and ideologically both, that it represented not just all the sections of the society but also all ideologies. We had warned you in the very first video that when we say a Indian National Congress throughout this course, it means the Indian National Congress that existed till Gandhiji was alive. It was synonymous with the freedom movement. Perhaps the greatest contribution of the Congress in its initial days was its ability to bring such divisive and diverse elements into a cohesive, efficient working unit. Although there have been blemishes in its record, for example, the Surat split, the Tripuri split, formation of All India Muslim League, and more, the organization has been largely successful. In fact, the success and cohesion of Congress is quite astounding considering its diversity. Congress was known for its scholarship. Lawyers and journalists made up over a third of all members of the Congress in its initial days. This led to an atmosphere of intense debate on social, political, and economic issues, which was to later become a major source of strength. The Indian National Congress was organized on a democratic basis and in the form of a parliament. Some of its most important decisions in its history was taken after intense debates and on the basis of open voting. There were some overarching themes in what the INC fought against: agrarian reform, freedom of the press, freedom of expression and association, civil liberties, protection of Indian artisans and Indian products, economic development of India, fights against oppression and demonic undue taxation by the British. These were the overarching themes within which the Congress fought the British. The national movement accepted with near unanimity the need to develop India on the basis of industrialization, which in turn was to be independent of foreign capital and was to rely on the indigenous capital goods. A crucial role was assigned to the Indian public sector as early as 1930s, and a commitment to economic planning was made evident. It is worth to note that the spirit of secularism was so firmly embodied in the constitution, took birth in the Indian National Congress itself in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Congress at all times was opposed to the growth of communalism and vehemently opposed divisive politics of the British, and to a certain extent that of the Muslim League. No other freedom fighters in the history of the world were as rational as the Indian freedom fighters. Some claim that this was the reason that it took so long to achieve independence. This rationality and humanism is reflected in this stand of the Indian National Congress, and I am going to quote it. It is an established principle of the Congress that Indians should hate British imperialism but not hate the British people. Consequently, they were supported by a large number of English men, women, and political groups. The Indian National Congress maintained close links with progressive and anti colonial forces of the world. A non racist, anti imperialist attitude that characterizes the Indian foreign policy even today was thus a part of the legacy of the anti imperialist struggle. We'll continue and look at the revolt of 1857 in the next video. Thank you.